Hi again, everybody. I have a message here from Narcopotamus, and here's his story. Hi, Ollie. Unfortunately, I can't donate anything, and the last time it was only a small amount I had left in my PayPal account. You'll find out why in my story. You did a video for me called One More Narcissist Recorded. There is no excuse good enough. That brought me a great deal of peace of mind. To hear someone else vocalize my mother's craziness helped. I don't even know where to begin. I've been completely destroyed by narcs, from family members to friends to work colleagues. It seems like my whole life has been a zero sum game. Every time I manage to crawl out of the hole, one of these people put me in. There is another at the top ready to push me back. My mother is a staunch, malignant narcissist, loves causing physical and emotional pain, paranoid beyond belief, shows a complete lack of people's boundaries, and is hell-bent on destroying me. My father is not quite a true narcissist, but is far more than an enabler. It took my mother a few years to break him down, hollow him out, and implant her pathology into him. The unprovoked beatings with the metal end of his belt were nothing compared to the sick things she did to me, though. I'm the scapegoat of three children. I have a younger, out of the womb psychotic sister and a lost child brother whose mind snapped from the abuse in his early adolescence, leaving him like a mindless zombie with no personality. My mother's full attention was then focused on me. Up until I was 18 and went away to college, my whole life was spent in a room, other than schooling. I wasn't allowed to go out and play with other kids. I never even had a birthday party. Most common electronic devices were forbidden in my room too. The only time I was allowed out of my room was to do chores, which went on for hours. Then I'd be beaten. Lather, rinse, repeat. To shorten this story up more, see the video you made yesterday called "The Only Thing You Should Do in Memory of the Narcissist is Tell the Truth." The writer described my mother to a T. I'm so glad her life's much better now. I'm 34 years old, and 2 years ago I managed to escape my narcissistic family. It was your videos and Angela's videos that shook me out of the zombie state I was in. While I was ill-equipped to make it on my own, I knew that if I didn't flee, there would be absolutely no future for me. For a decade prior to my escape, I was prisoner in their house once again. After college, they sabotaged every attempt I made to get a job. The only reason they allowed me to go to college was to avoid the suspicion of stealing the trust fund my grandparents had set up for me. I don't know how much it was because they made me sign it over to them while it was covered by another piece of paper, and while my father had his hand around my throat and my mother shrieking, "Sign it, sign it, sign it," while stomping her feet like a toddler. I'd imagine it was a lot. My grandfather is loaded. The home renovations, home theater system, and the new vehicles came quickly after they shipped me off to college with no money for food or college supplies, hoping that I would flunk out. Instead, I excelled in class. You'd be surprised how much perfectly good food people throw away in a college cafeteria. So after college, they sabotaged my attempts to get a job. They do this in many creative ways. Take both cars out while I was in the shower before a job interview. Wet all my shoes underwater and throw them out in the snow hours before a job interview. Pick up the phone when a company called and breathe and growl loudly into the receiver while I was trying to talk to them. The crazy shit goes on and on. Eventually, I did get a job, though, through an old friend of a friend. No interview, I got a job through him while at a pub. See, they let me go out of town with friends so they could tell people how lazy and irresponsible I was, but wouldn't let me make it to interviews just in case I got the job. They were furious that I then had a job. Unfortunately, it didn't last long. They made my life a living hell, barging into my room at 1 a.m. or 4 a.m. or 2 a.m., making sure I couldn't sleep properly, turning off the water midway through my shower before work, only buying enough food for their own dinners night to night, and allowing me to go out and get my own food, not allowing me to wash clothes for no reason other than because. Again, the crazy shit goes on and on and on. I was physically and mentally on edge, going to work every day on an empty stomach with dirty clothes smelling like shit. Bosses and employees were taking notice. The stress was immense. My panic attacks and anxiety, which mysteriously disappeared for years when I moved away to college, slowly once returned again. Along with the anxiety came horrible stomach problems, or so I thought. Only recently I discovered it was the onset of an autoimmune disease called ulcerative colitis. Even though it was really severe, I chalked it up to anxiety causing my stomach problems. My performance at work steadily decreased, and I ended up quitting to save myself the embarrassment of being fired. And being fired was imminent. Things just kept getting worse. I developed full-blown agoraphobia from my panic attacks and anxiety. I eventually gave up trying to find a job when my mental and physical health went completely to hell. This part of the story where my mother's batshit crazy paranoia is fully realized, and the part I've never wanted to tell anyone because it makes me look paranoid and crazy. Every single telephone I ever made under their roof was recorded. This is not something I suspect. One summer in my late teens, I was looking for a VHS tape to record a show. They had a fancy TV stand in the master bedroom, which was strictly off limits, but they weren't around and I couldn't find a tape. I opened the drawer in the TV stand to find literally hundreds of mini cassette audio tapes. Some were even cataloged and collated with post-it notes, labeled by date and with asterisks. I searched around and found the Radio Shack phone recording device wired to a small kid tape recorder under her bed. I wanted to fucking vomit. I later discovered there was a keylogger on the computer as well. I never got smoking gun evidence of this, but I am almost certain there was a pinhole camera in my bedroom and a GPS tracker on the car. The reason I think this is because, like with the recorded phone calls, she liked to drop little hints about specific things I was doing, citing specific examples when it was otherwise impossible for her to know. This wasn't her accidentally slipping up. She wanted me to know she was watching my every move. My whole life she wanted me to believe that she can read my mind and all the horrible things I'm plotting against her, like poisoning her, which she did to my brother and I frequently as kids. One Christmas, while she had her mask on making calls to family and friends, I slipped down to my room and hid my Christmas money between some books on the shelf before they could take it away from me. Because after all, that money doesn't belong to you, it belongs to us, they would always scream at me. My parents are multimillionaires, so they definitely needed more money. I went out that Christmas night, pre-agoraphobia, but before I did, I turned on the motion detector on my webcam, as I always did, so I'd know what they stole from me or what they rearranged in my room. When I got home, I reviewed the footage. It was of my father. He walked into my room and immediately, no hesitation, went to the exact spot where I put the money. It was a large shelf with 8 sections, all stacked with books. He found the cash immediately. This wasn't even a standard spot I hid things. I have even more examples of why I think I had a camera in that room, but you get the point. Eventually, in my mid-20s, with my agoraphobia and ulcerative colitis still awful, the narcs spontaneous tell me they're moving, and I, of course, am being dragged along with them. This is the part where her paranoia really goes off the deep end. They bought a new house in the middle of butt-fuck nowhere along a country road near a small town. You couldn't even get cell phone reception there. Not sure if they picked that area intentionally. Of course they did. Of course they did. My mother made changes to the floor plan, which seemed irrational at first, but now I know why she did. Essentially, my mother designed a house that made it impossible for me to go out without them knowing. She was even paranoid when I tried to go for a walk, and would even fly into a rage if I tried to leave. On the floor plan, she shoehorned a tiny bedroom in the front of the house on the main floor right beside the front entrance. This is where she slept. her head only feet away from the front door. This room could barely fit a bed, and the closet was deeper than the length of the room. My father slept in the master bedroom, which was put on the main floor beside the back patio door and the garage door. If I tried to sneak out the front door, my mother would hear me. If I tried to sneak out the garage door, they'd both be woken up by the electric door opener. Wait, I guess I could have gone out the side door of the garage. Nope. She removed that from the default floor plan for no logical reason at all. Well, other than the reasons I believe. The house can sleep 8 additional people. There was no reason for those 2 bedrooms. My point is, my mother is so fucking crazy and paranoid and overbearing that she ruined the house just to keep complete tabs on me. The question I'm wondering, has anybody experienced this level of paranoia before? I'd really like to know. I can't be the only one, and I'm seriously doubt I am. About a decade I spent as a type of domestic prisoner under their roof. I lost all the friends I had that weren't turned against due to triangulation, either by family members or narc friends. The only people I had any human contact with were these 2 evil fuckers that acted like children trapped in the body of 65-year-olds. They would berate me before I opened my mouth to speak. I even became a mute. Truly. Not only did I not speak, I actually lost the ability to, both cognitively and physically. I spent the last 2 years trying to learn how to speak properly again. My mind inevitably degenerated during that time. I was way past the point of suicide. I didn't even care enough to kill myself. I would live inside my head in an almost delusional type state. My personality I had developed in college had been wiped out, and I'm still trying to get it back today. Sometimes I would actually talk out loud, my thoughts and imagination slipping out into the real world. I think a lot of the time I didn't even realize I was doing it. I still do it out in public accidentally sometimes. My parents loved it because it supported their smear campaign of mental illness, but they knew full well they were the cause of my odd, disparate behavior. My physical health got worse too. Along with my ulcerative colitis, I started developing a certain arthritis that goes with it. It's very painful, and I now have a noticeably deformed spine, which will continue to get worse without treatment, which I can't afford. My parents would call my brother and I fakers and pussies growing up when it came to the disease. It was all in our heads. Only a couple of years ago, I discovered this bitch knew there was a family history of the disease. She even mildly has the arthritis component, but has lied about it our entire lives. There is no doubt she knew my brother and I both had it. I eventually found your YouTube channel, and after watching a documentary about serial killers, it showcased their personalities rather than the actual murders they committed. That shit rang some bells, so I started to read up on it. I found your channel when you only had less than 10 videos. There wasn't much on YouTube about narcissism back then. You definitely started a movement, and a shout out to Angela too. You guys started to help me get my sanity back. A while after that, a company overseas found something I created that was posted on the internet, and they gave me a full-time job from home. I kept the job a secret and didn't dare spend a single cent I made from in front of my parents. They went on vacation for the entire summer, as they always do. The day they left, I started practicing talking in front of the mirror and searching online for an apartment. Despite my agoraphobia, I moved out over an hour away. The drive was fucking brutal. Less than 48 hours after I started packing up to move, they were on their way back from the cottage, 3 weeks early for no reason, without telling me. It takes a good week to close up their cottage and get it in order, and they've never, in all my life, come back that early. Somehow they knew I was moving out. They almost caught me by a few hours. Had they caught me, the cops probably would have been called on me, telling them I was mentally ill or on drugs or dangerous. Things were going really well at first. I was happy to be out in my own apartment. I still worked for the same company and was making decent money. However, one day my mind cracked and I started to unravel even worse. All the stuff that happened in the last decade and in my childhood started to erupt from my head. It was nothing but flashbacks all day, every day. I couldn't concentrate on work. I wasn't sleeping properly. I couldn't keep on schedule. Everything fell apart and I was eventually fired. Not even being able to hold down a work from home job and my money running out, things were looking grim. It seemed like there was no options left. I even looked in the GoFundMe, but I stopped once I got to the part where it asked me to link up my Facebook account. Like that other person wrote in recently, there is a shame you feel about it. Not only a shame, but the only people I had left on Facebook friends, on my Facebook friends list, were a few narcs from my old social life, their enablers and acquaintances I barely knew. I would have been absolutely torn apart if I dared to do that. Eventually I gave up and was waiting for my money to run out. Since everything seemed hopeless, I decided to post a personal project I had created up onto the internet. Everything I've done in my life has been shit all over by family and friends. So I rarely show things that I've worked on to the public. I figured, what the hell, I'm pretty much dead anyways. Jokingly, I thought maybe I'll get rich or die trying. Well, as it turned out, people went apeshit for it in a good way. I was getting emails and messages like crazy, and people were demanding that I launch a Kickstarter to make it happen. Even when faced with homelessness, suicide, the idea of doing a Kickstarter was uncomfortable to me. People want to pay money for something I'm doing. What's wrong with them? That was the little voice that played over and over again in my head. I went ahead with it though. I decided to launch a Kickstarter. It wasn't doing well, but all of a sudden, big name editorials in my industry caught wind of it and started writing articles about it. I ended up going over the Kickstarter goal. I couldn't believe it. Not only did people like it, but I had big name companies in my industry and investors wanting to sign on with me to complete the project. I went from being on the verge of homelessness to being on the verge of millionaire status. Some of the people that approached me were obvious narcs. They're not difficult to spot in my industry, even before I was familiar with the term narcissism. After many online meetings, I finally settled on this one company that had great terms. Nothing too good to be true, though. The two guys from the company seemed nice too. There were no red flags and they were a reputable company I was already familiar with. So I signed the contract. Biggest fucking mistake of my life. Weeks after signing the contract, the guys just disappeared for months. When the owner of the company finally showed up again, he accused me of disappearing on them, even though I had emailed them several times with no response. He would talk down to me whenever I would talk in technical terms about the project. I soon discovered he had no real technical experience in this industry, so as a defense for his ignorance, he would just demean me in front of other people on conference calls, making me look like I'm an idiot and I don't know what I'm doing. Then he'd go on and on about all his amazing achievements, which actually weren't his. He somehow weaseled his way to get his name in the credits on projects, but didn't actually work on the production of these things. He would even fire employees on the spot. He gets into arguments with kids on his Twitter business account and prides himself on that. He's a real class act. Not only was he not able to fulfill his agreement, his ideas and total control over my creation were just downright batshit crazy. Part of the agreement was he was not to interfere with the creation process. Without saying what I do, I suppose I'm not supposed to work for them. They're supposed to work for me. That's how it works in my industry, although his type of company ultimately has the upper hand in the agreement. They have the money, I'm just the little guy. I tried as amicably as possible to split from him. Since he hadn't really contributed anything, it would have been a clean break. Still, I knew it probably wouldn't go over well, and it didn't. He took it as a personal shot to his ego. I found out this past year I'm not the only person or company that's tried to pull away from him. He's just fucking incompetent. But he thinks he's amazing, and everyone else is in the wrong. Now he's essentially giving me the silent treatment, knowing there's nothing I could do to move forward having a signed agreement. He's trying to kill the project. I've even got a lawyer, not actually my lawyer, hired by an even worse guy who wants to get his hand on my project. This new guy is a fucking sociopath. His family business was even involved in a scandal that involved first-degree murder. I turned to him in desperation, knowing what he was. The original guy is dragging out conversations with the lawyer intentionally by giving him non-responses, knowing that I'll run out of money eventually, which I have, and thus the project will die. I know it might be hard for people to have any real sympathy for my story, talking about losing out on being a millionaire. But it wasn't about the potential money that was a surprise to me. It was about being able to support myself. It was literally a get-rich-or-die-trying scenario somehow I accidentally fell into. More so than my narc family, I'm even more embarrassed to talk about my illness. I'm still a somewhat young male, and so I'm expected to just tough it out. I am way beyond just toughing it out. I don't like to even admit to myself that I wouldn't be capable of working a job. That's why this opportunity meant the world to me. Without it, I have nothing. I signed my last chance at life over to a narcissist. I had my shot and I fucking blew it. Sometimes I wonder if I did commit suicide last year and I am now in some type of purgatory of cosmic irony, meaning it wasn't enough to just become homeless last year. I had to have my wildest dreams given to me, then yanked away, leaving me on the brink of homelessness again. There was even a woman this past year who loved me so unconditionally. She ended up having BPD. She squashed me and tossed me away right before she went to a sex club to get gangbanged. One day I hope to tell that story. It actually bothers me more than anything that's happened this year. I still have one dim light of hope, however. Apparently this asshole's contract wasn't airtight, and I can still release my project independently through certain channels. The sociopath guy's lawyer accidentally let that information slip to me last week, so I can't imagine he's too happy that I know this. There's still 6 more months of work I need to do on the project and things I need to purchase. I discovered there's a funding grant I'm eligible for. They give me funds before I'm incorporated so that I can incorporate. I can even get benefits so I'll be able to get the medication I've needed all these years. However, the grant doesn't get handed out until October. I literally have no money and am almost out of food. I have a car, but was debating whether to sell it or live in it. I just barely squeaked by the last couple months. I don't think I'll be able to sell my car by the end of the month, especially considering I don't have the money to take it to the car wash and vacuum it out. I also want to take some of my stuff and sell it at the pawn shop, but it's difficult with that agoraphobia. I've been driving out towards the pawn shop bit by bit, further and further, before I have a panic attack. I'm getting closer. It's pathetic, but that's how it is. Nobody seems to want to buy my stuff online. I would have taken out a small personal loan or line of credit, but my parents absolutely destroyed my credit. I didn't even have the right to own my own mail in that house, and they hid things from me. Things I didn't even know I owed on, and ended up going to a collection agency. I was always good about paying my bills in college, any way I could. I've been working on this story for weeks now. Originally, it was going to be my swan song, complete with BPD girlfriend. But after discovering I can actually get out of the contract in a way, I'm not giving up. I'd almost rather die than ask people for help. But I realize I can't give up now after coming this far. And it's weird. A part of me almost wants to give up. I'm exhausted. I just set up a new PayPal email. And as much as I hate to ask people to lend, that's exactly what I'm doing. I have no family or friends or extended family to help me out. I wouldn't be asking this of people otherwise. I use PayPal because I plan to pay everybody back. While I'm shamefully asking for donations, I'd still like to remain anonymous. But if you do donate and I disappear, Ollie knows my actual name. My PayPal email is narcfund@gmail.com. NARCFUND, one word, @gmail.com. narcfund@gmail.com. I am tremendously thankful to anyone who donates, even if you can't. Hearing people's story, whether on Ollie's channel or other channels on YouTube, has helped me immensely these last few years. And thank you, Ollie, for taking the time to read this. You're awesome. As always, hopes this doesn't hurt your voice. Thank you, Narcopotamus. All I can tell you is this: don't give up. Don't give up. You don't need my analysis here. I mean, you seem to got it down pretty well. I'm sure there was cameras in your house, and you have nothing to be fearful of going out. The agoraphobia. Pawn shops want to buy goods, so I hope it doesn't come to that. I hope you get some donations to your PayPal. People here can be pretty generous, so I hope some people can help. I do know him. I know his real name, so but I don't think people would want to be paid back anyway in this community if they donate. I mean, if they do, that's fine, but if I doubt it. I doubt it. Because we're all here to help each other. So, thank you for your story. I hope the project goes well. Keep fighting. Don't give up. Don't kill yourself. Don't think like that. Again, his PayPal email is narcfund, NARCFUND @gmail.com. So thank you again for everybody for watching. Please leave any advice or opinions in the comment section below. And again, if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover or a narcissist you'd like to expose, you know what to do with the PayPal and my email links in the description box. I'll have the video right back to you. This is Ollie Matthews. Thanks for watching. See you all again soon. Bye.